The quantum sensors aboard the International Space Station first detected the anomaly during what should have been a routine stellar observation. Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the readings, her coffee growing cold beside her keyboard as she triple-checked the calculations. The void between Mars and Jupiter had suddenly birthed something impossible, a massive gravitational distortion that defied every known law of physics. "Houston, this is ISS. We're tracking something you need to see," she transmitted, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. Within hours, every major observatory on Earth confirmed her findings. Something was coming, and it was coming fast. The same day humanity discovered they weren't alone in the universe, the Pacific Ring of Fire decided to remind them they weren't safe on their own planet either. A cascade of earthquakes, unlike anything in recorded history, began triggering simultaneous volcanic eruptions across the region. As the Meridian ships approached Earth orbit, humanity was already fighting for survival. Commander David Santos stood in the United Earth Defense Command Center, watching as both disasters unfolded on separate screens. The alien fleet, if that's what it was, would reach Earth in less than 6 hours. The volcanic activity had already forced the evacuation of millions, with toxic clouds spreading across the Pacific. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the approaching vessels." The main screen flickered to life, revealing a being that seemed to defy description. Its form shifted like liquid mercury, but maintained a vaguely humanoid shape. When it spoke, its voice resonated with harmonics that made the air itself vibrate. "We are the Meridians," it announced in perfect English. "We have come to witness." Santos straightened his uniform, aware that this moment would be recorded in every human history book, if they survived long enough to write them. "I am Commander David Santos of the United Earth Defense Command. You've caught us at a rather inconvenient time." The Meridian's surface rippled, creating patterns that somehow conveyed curiosity. "We know. The geological instability of your world has reached a critical point. Our calculations suggest a 98.7% probability of cascade failure, leading to an extinction-level event within the next 30 days. Then you've come to help?" Santos asked, though something in the alien's tone suggested otherwise. "No," the Meridian replied. "We have come to observe. Throughout the galaxy, we have witnessed countless civilizations face their ultimate test. Some survive. Most do not. How a species faces extinction reveals their true nature." As if to punctuate the alien's words, another earthquake rocked the Pacific region. Warning sirens blared as new volcanic vents opened in populated areas. Santos glanced at the disaster feeds, then back at the Meridian. "With all due respect," he said, keeping his voice level, "if you're not here to help, then please stay out of our way. We have work to do." The Meridian's surface displayed patterns that might have been surprise. "You do not request our assistance. Our technology could easily stabilize your tectonic plates." Santos allowed himself a grim smile. "Humanity has faced extinction before. We're still here. We'll handle this ourselves." "Fascinating," the Meridian responded. "In 12,000 years of observation, we have never encountered this response." "Then pay attention," Santos replied, already turning to coordinate the global response. "You're about to see something new." As the alien transmission ended, Santos activated the global emergency broadcast system. His voice reached every corner of the planet, speaking to a humanity that was already fighting against nature's fury. "People of Earth, this is Commander Santos. As you know, we face an unprecedented geological crisis. We also have visitors watching how we handle it." He paused, letting that sink in. "They want to see what we're made of. I say we show them." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Every nation opened their borders to refugees. Private companies redirected their resources to the crisis. Scientists worldwide began sharing data and theories freely, working around the clock to find solutions. Dr. Chen, still aboard the ISS, coordinated with ground teams to repurpose weather satellites for monitoring magma flows. In Japan, Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka abandoned his retirement to lead a team developing new heat-resistant materials for operating in the increasingly hostile conditions near the volcanic vents. The Meridians watched it all, their ships positioned at strategic points around the planet. They observed as humans rushed into danger to save strangers, as competitors became collaborators, as innovations were developed in days rather than years. When the volcanic activity threatened to release enough sulfur dioxide to trigger a nuclear winter, humanity responded by developing atmospheric scrubbers using repurposed jet engines. When entire coastlines began sinking into the sea, floating cities were designed and constructed within weeks. The Meridians witnessed humanity's response to crisis, not with panic or despair, but with determination and ingenuity. They watched as humans faced impossible odds not by begging for help, but by getting to work. As the first month drew to a close, Santos received another transmission from the Meridian leader. Its patterns now displayed something that might have been respect. "Your species continues to surprise us," it said. "But you should know, this is only the beginning. What comes next will test you even further." Santos looked at the latest disaster reports, at the countless stories of heroism and innovation, at the way humanity had united in the face of catastrophe. "Good," he replied. "We're just getting warmed up." The Meridian's warning proved prophetic. 3 weeks into Earth's geological crisis, Dr. Sarah Chen discovered something that made the volcanic eruptions seem trivial by comparison. The sun was dying, not in the normal billions of years timescale that stars usually followed, but in weeks. Something was accelerating the solar fusion process, causing instabilities that would soon tear Earth's star apart. The data was undeniable. Humanity had perhaps 2 months before their solar system became a stellar graveyard. Commander Santos received the report while overseeing the evacuation of Jakarta. He read it twice, then contacted the Meridian vessels still orbiting Earth. Their liquid metal representative appeared on his screen, its surface now displaying patterns he learned to recognize as anticipation. "You knew about this," Santos said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," the Meridian confirmed. "The stellar degradation is part of a natural cycle that occurs in this galaxy approximately every 50,000 years. Your sun is one of millions affected." Santos felt a cold anger building in his chest. "And you didn't warn us because..." "Because now you face the choice," the Meridian replied. "We offer it to every civilization that reaches this point. We can save your star, stabilize its fusion process, and guarantee your species thousands more years of development. Or what?" Santos prompted, though he suspected he knew what was coming. "Or you can attempt to save yourselves. If you succeed, you will join us as equals in the galactic community. If you fail, your species ends. But know this, accepting our help automatically disqualifies you. We only accept as equals those who can stand on their own." Santos didn't hesitate. "Then we'll save ourselves." The Meridian's surface rippled with what might have been surprise. "You do not wish to consult with your world leaders. This decision affects all of humanity." "I don't need to." Santos watched from the command center as aurora filled the skies worldwide, beautiful harbingers of approaching doom. The Meridian representative appeared on his screen, its patterns showing what he'd learned to read as concern. "Your efforts, while impressive, may be futile," it said. 17 other civilizations have faced this choice. None have succeeded without our help. Our offer still stands." Santos looked at the latest reports. Dr. Chen's team had made breakthroughs in understanding stellar physics that would have taken decades under normal circumstances. Dr. Tanaka's group had developed materials that could theoretically withstand the heart of a star. "With all due respect," Santos replied, "humanity doesn't believe in no-win scenarios. We're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting to prove something. Not to you, but to ourselves." The Meridian's surface swirled with complex patterns. "And what is that?" "That humanity deserves its place among the stars. Not because someone gave it to us, but because we earned it. As if in response to his words, another solar flare lit up the sky. But beneath that ominous light, humanity continued working, innovating, and refusing to give up. The real test was just beginning, and failure meant not just the end of humanity, but the end of everything they could become. Santos looked at the patterns of light in the sky, then at the reports of human determination and ingenuity pouring in from around the world. "We're going to save our star," he told the Meridian. "And then we're going to have a long talk about this test of yours." The Meridian's surface displayed patterns that might have been amusement, or perhaps respect. "We look forward to either outcome, Commander. You continue to surprise us." "Good," Santos replied, "because you haven't seen anything yet." Dr. Sarah Chen's theory was either brilliant or insane, possibly both. As she presented it to the Global Scientific Council from her station aboard the ISS, she could see the mixture of awe and skepticism on her colleagues' faces. "We can't stop the sun's accelerated fusion process," she explained, pulling up complex simulations on shared screens. "But we can redirect it. Every star has magnetic corridors, channels where plasma flows like rivers. If we can create artificial magnetic channels, we can vent the excess energy safely into space." Dr. Tanaka, joining from his lab in Tokyo, leaned forward. "You're suggesting we give the sun a pressure release valve?" "Exactly," Chen replied. "Think of it like controlling a volcanic eruption by creating deliberate fissures. We're not stopping the process. We're controlling where and how it happens." The plan was audacious. It would require building massive magnetic field generators closer to the sun than any human device had ever operated. The engineering challenges seemed insurmountable. The Meridians, monitoring the presentation, displayed patterns that humans had learned to interpret as disbelief. Commander Santos listened to the technical discussion, then asked the question everyone was thinking. "How long do we have?" Chen's expression was grim. 3 weeks before the sun reaches critical instability. Maybe less." The room erupted in protests. It was impossible. No one could build and deploy that kind of technology in 3 weeks. The material requirements alone would take months to manufacture. But Santos raised his hand for silence. 3 weeks to save our species," he said. "I've seen humanity do more with less." "Dr. Chen, what do you need?" What followed was the greatest mobilization of human resources in history. Every major manufacturing facility on Earth was converted to produce components for the magnetic field generators. Space agencies worldwide coordinated to create a delivery system for getting the equipment close enough to the sun. Dr. Tanaka's team worked around the clock, developing new materials that could withstand solar temperatures. They created an artificial crystal structure that could maintain stability even under extreme heat and radiation. When traditional manufacturing methods proved too slow, they adapted volcanic vents into natural forges. The Meridians watched with increasing interest as humanity transformed itself. Private space companies merged their resources, converting cargo rockets into component carriers. International rivalries disappeared as nations shared their most closely guarded technological secrets. Even children contributed, with schools worldwide running complex simulations to help optimize the magnetic field configurations. 2 weeks into the project, humanity faced its first major setback. A test of the magnetic field technology caused an unexpected reaction in Earth's magnetosphere, triggering worldwide power failures. As cities went dark, the Meridian representative appeared on emergency channels. "Perhaps now you will reconsider our offer of assistance," it suggested. "What you attempt has never been achieved by any civilization we have encountered." Dr. Chen, working by emergency lighting in the ISS, didn't even look up from her calculations. "Then it's about time someone did it." The power failure actually sparked new innovations. Engineers in India developed a way to use the disrupted magnetic fields to power the very devices they were building. A team in Brazil discovered that the interaction between their technology and Earth's magnetic field could serve as a prototype for the larger solar version. Santos coordinated the global effort from a mobile command center, moving between emergency sites as needed. He watched as humanity demonstrated not just its resilience, but its ability to turn setbacks into advantages. The meridian's patterns increasingly showed what seemed to be amazement. You continue despite knowing the probability of failure approaches certainty. One asked him. Santos smiled. We're not too good at accepting probabilities. Humanity has a habit of doing the impossible when backed into a corner. The first components of the magnetic field generators were launched into space 18 days into the project. Teams worked in spacesuits that could barely withstand the increasing solar radiation, assembling massive structures that would attempt to tame a star. Dr. Chen monitored the assembly from the ISS, coordinating with ground control and the construction teams. The sun's surface churned with increasing violence, solar flares reaching out like hungry fingers toward the Earth. Humanity's magnetic shields were failing under the onslaught, but no one stopped working. Final assembly begins tomorrow, Chen reported to Santos. If this works, we'll not only save the sun, we'll have technology that could revolutionize stellar engineering. And if it doesn't work? Santos asked. Chen's smile was tired but determined. Then we'll have shown the galaxy that humanity doesn't go quietly. We fight until the end, even against a star. As the sun cast its increasingly unstable light over Earth, humanity prepared for its greatest test. The Meridians watched as the species they had come to study prepared to attempt something unprecedented in galactic history. The final phase was about to begin, and with it, humanity would either emerge as a true stellar civilization or become another entry in the Meridians' long list of failed species. But as Santos looked at the determination in every face he saw, he knew one thing. Whatever the outcome, humanity would face it on their own terms. The magnetic field generators looked impossibly fragile against the massive backdrop of the dying sun. Dr. Sarah Chen watched from the ISS as the final components moved into position, a constellation of human ingenuity arrayed against the fury of a failing star. They had one chance to get this right. All stations report ready, she announced, her voice carrying to command centers worldwide. Beginning primary sequence. As the generators powered up, creating artificial magnetic corridors to channel the sun's excess energy, the first signs of trouble appeared. The stellar readings weren't matching their simulations. The sun's deterioration had accelerated beyond their predictions. The magnetic fields aren't strong enough, Dr. Tanaka reported from his monitoring station. We need at least twice the current power output to establish stable corridors. Commander Santos, watching from Earth Defense Command, saw the Meridian representative appear on his screen. Its patterns showed what he learned to recognize as concern. Your attempt was admirable, it said, but the physics involved exceed your current technological capabilities. Accept our help now, and your species can survive to try again. Before Santos could respond, Dr. Chen's voice cut through the command channel. We can amplify the field strength by moving the generators closer to the sun's surface. That's suicide, Tanaka protested. Even with our new materials, nothing can survive that close to the solar surface. The generators don't need to survive long, Chen replied. They just need to last long enough to establish the magnetic corridors. Once the channels are formed, they'll be self-sustaining. Santos understood immediately what she was suggesting. The generators would have to be manually repositioned. Any team attempting this would be exposed to stellar radiation far beyond survivable levels. I'll go, Chen said, already moving toward the ISS airlock. I designed the system. I know exactly where they need to be positioned. Sarah, no, Santos started, but she cut him off. We've got billions of lives on one side of the equation and one life on the other, she said, her voice steady. That's not even mathematics. It's common sense. Before anyone could stop her, Chen had boarded one of the maintenance vessels. The Meridians watched in collective silence as her small ship approached the massive generators. Their patterns displayed something new, an emotion their species had never recorded before. Your technology cannot protect her at that proximity to the solar surface, one transmitted. By our calculations, she has less than 10 minutes before fatal radiation exposure. "Then I better work fast," Chen replied, maneuvering between the massive generators. She began the delicate process of repositioning them, moving each one closer to the sun's raging surface. The temperature inside her ship rose steadily, despite all cooling systems operating at maximum. From Earth, billions watched through the ship's transmissions as Chen worked. Children in classrooms, scientists in laboratories, families in their homes, all held their breath as one human being gambled everything on their calculations. 8 minutes in, the first generator locked into its new position. The magnetic field visibly strengthened, creating a shimmering curtain of diverted plasma. 9 minutes, and the second generator was secured. Chen's voice was growing weaker as she moved to the final generator. "Sarah," Santos called out, "you've done enough. Get out of there." "Almost. Got it," she responded, her words slurring. "Just need to align the final field." The meridian's patterns were changing rapidly, displaying cascades of new emotions as they witnessed something unprecedented in their long history of observation. A species willing to sacrifice its best minds not for glory or power, but for the simple continuation of life. At exactly 10 minutes and 30 seconds, the final generator locked into position. The magnetic corridors burst into full power, creating channels of breathtaking beauty across the sun's surface. Excess energy began venting safely into space, and the stellar readings started to stabilize. "It's working," Tanaka announced, his voice thick with emotion. "The sun's core is beginning to stabilize. We did it. Sarah, can you hear me?" There was no response from the maintenance vessel. Its systems were offline, overwhelmed by the intense radiation. Santos ordered an immediate rescue mission, but everyone knew they were probably too late. Then, cutting through the silence, came a transmission from the Meridian fleet. Their patterns were unlike anything humans had seen before. "We have observed 12,342 civilizations," they announced. "We have seen species achieve technological marvels. We have witnessed incredible acts of survival. But never, in all our observations, have we seen this." Their ships moved forward, surrounding Chen's vessel in a protective formation. "You have shown us something new," they continued. "Perhaps it is we who have something to learn from you." As humanity held its breath, the Meridians demonstrated that sometimes those who come to observe choose to act instead. The final test wasn't just about saving the star. It was about showing the galaxy that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their determination. It was their willingness to sacrifice everything for each other. The Meridian ships moved with impossible grace, weaving a cocoon of energy around Dr. Chen's damaged vessel. Commander Santos watched from Earth Defense Command as readings from her ship began to stabilize. Somehow, they were containing the lethal radiation, creating a pocket of protected space in the heart of the solar storm. "We have never intervened before," the Meridian representative explained, its patterns shifting with new, complex emotions. "But you have shown us that perhaps our role as observers has been incomplete." Inside her ship, Dr. Chen was barely conscious when the Meridian energy field reached her. The radiation damage began to reverse as their advanced technology enveloped her vessel. Her vital signs, which had been plummeting, steadily returned to normal. "Why?" she managed to ask through the comm system. "Why help now?" The Meridian's response resonated through all communication channels, heard by every human on Earth and in space. "Because you have taught us something we did not know we needed to learn." As Chen's ship was carefully towed back to safety, Dr. Tanaka reported from his monitoring station. "The magnetic corridors are holding. The sun's core is stabilizing faster than we predicted. It's actually working better than our simulations suggested." The Meridians confirmed his analysis. "You have achieved something unprecedented. Not merely in saving your star, but in how you chose to do it. We have observed countless civilizations face extinction. Many developed impressive technology. Some showed remarkable courage, but none demonstrated what we witnessed today." Santos leaned forward in his command chair. "And what exactly did you witness?" A species that values the collective over the individual, yet values each individual enough that billions would hold their breath for one life. A civilization that faces impossible odds not with despair or resignation, but with innovation and sacrifice. You showed us that true intelligence isn't just about technological advancement. It's about the wisdom to use that technology in service of others. The meridian's surface rippled with new patterns as it continued. We came to test you, but you have tested our assumptions. Perhaps it is we who needed to evolve. As the sun continued to stabilize, humanity began to understand the full scope of what they had achieved. The magnetic corridor technology, combined with the insights they had gained, opened new possibilities in stellar engineering. The materials developed for the generators had applications that would revolutionize space travel. But these technological advances were secondary to the deeper changes. 1 week after the crisis, Dr. Chen stood before the United Earth Council, still bearing the marks of her ordeal, but very much alive. The Meridian representatives floated beside her, their patterns now displaying emotions that had no counterpart in their 12,000 years of observation. The test you designed for evolving civilizations was flawed, Chen told them, her voice strong despite her recent recovery. You were looking for species that could survive on their own, but the greatest civilizations are those that understand when to stand alone and when to stand together. The Meridian's patterns shifted in agreement. We designed our tests to find equals, they acknowledged. Instead, we found teachers. Your species has shown us that true advancement lies not in isolation, but in the balance between independence and interconnection. Commander Santos, watching from his position in the council chamber, smiled as he remembered their first contact just weeks ago. So, what happens now? Do we get to join your galactic community? The Meridian's response surprised everyone. No, it said, patterns shifting to show what might have been amusement. You have earned something far more significant. We would like to join yours. The announcement sent shockwaves through human society. The Meridians, ancient observers of civilizations, wanted to learn from humanity. They offered to share their technology, not as superior beings uplifting a primitive species, but as partners hoping to evolve together. The changes came swiftly. The Meridians helped humanity repair their planet's geological instability, while humans taught them about sacrifice, innovation, and the strength found in united diversity. Together, they began exploring new ways to protect and nurture developing civilizations across the galaxy. Dr. Chen led the first joint human-Meridian scientific expedition, studying methods to prevent other stars from facing the same crisis that had nearly destroyed Earth's sun. Dr. Tanaka's team worked with Meridian engineers to develop new technologies that combined both species' unique approaches to problem-solving. 1 year after the solar crisis, Commander Santos stood on the observation deck of the new Earth Meridian space station, watching ships of both species working together to construct a network of stellar monitoring stations. The Meridian representative who had first contacted Earth floated beside him. Your species continues to surprise us, it said, its patterns showing what Santos now recognized as fondness. We thought we were testing your worthiness to join the galactic community. Instead, you showed us that worthiness isn't about technological advancement or even survival capability. What is it about then? Santos asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. It's about understanding that true strength lies not in standing alone, but in knowing when to stand together. Your species faced extinction twice. First from geological disaster, then from stellar instability. You could have begged for help or accepted our offer of salvation. Instead, you showed us a third path, earning respect not through isolation, but through demonstrating the courage to try, the wisdom to innovate, and the heart to sacrifice. As they watched Earth's restored sun setting behind the curve of their home planet, Santos reflected on how far humanity had come. They had not only survived their trial by fire, but had emerged stronger, wiser, and with a new understanding of their place in the cosmos. So what's next? He asked the Meridian.